Hello besties, welcome back to my book channel. My name is Sophie. I'm so glad that you're here. If this intro looks very similar to one of my recent reading vlogs, I am filming in the exact same time and position as my Intimidating Books reading vlog from a couple weeks ago, but I'm here today because on my Goodreads app, it says that I have read, actually let me double check so I'm not like misquoting. I'm pretty sure that I have read, yes, 72 of the 75 books on my 2025 reading challenge. Now, I had a little mental goal to hit 100 by the end of the year, but I do not think that's gonna happen. It's currently October 26th and I am at 72. But that being said, I am only 3 books away from hitting my actual goal of 75 and I wanted to record that and film it for y'all. So what are the options for today's vlog, right? Now I have The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. This is actually on my October TBR. I had 6 books on there. I've read 2. This is another one. And I'm actually about 45% of the way through this book, almost halfway, but I ran out of audiobook minutes and they do not refresh until I think the 28th. So in like 2 or 3 days. Now I don't know if I'm really feeling this right now. I do have the paperback obviously, but I don't think I want to read this physically because I just am not too intrigued. It's kind of hard. Like I want to read, but nothing is sucking me in like it should be. So I'm gonna put a pause on this temporarily until the audiobook minutes refresh, and then maybe I can finish it by listening to it in a couple days. But before we get to that point, I of course want to hopefully have a book to read in the meantime. And the book I was thinking a little earlier I could pick is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. This is one of the most beautiful editions of a book that I have ever purchased in my entire life. And it's actually just the regular version. Like this is one I found in Barnes & Noble. The naked hardcover is reflective on all sides. There is like some illustration and chapter headings that look like this. Genuinely so stunning. And then the inside of the dust jacket has a map. Yeah, you cannot get better than this, actually. I think Scarlett St. Clair did her big one with the design on this. It's so stunning. It's just so stunning. And I really appreciate when an author puts time and effort into a book like that. So was this 100% a cover buy? Maybe. I mean, that's not true. I watched Ravenhair Reader's vlog for this book and she really loved it. She gave it like 4.5 stars, I think, something like that. And she thought it was so good. And it's not too long and it's sort of a fantasy series and I think I may eat this up. So we're gonna start the vlog with this one, see what happens. Wish me luck. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the reading vlog. You're not gonna believe this. You're gonna think I'm crazy. But I'm actually on page 255 in Terror at the Gates right now. It is the next day, less than 24 hours after I talked to you last, and I'm currently 55% of the way through this book. Now, is this book hard to read? Absolutely not. Did I get the audiobook? Yes. Is the font relatively big on a relatively short page? Yes. That being said, have I read 200 plus pages in under 24 hours since the beginning of October? No. This is like crazy to me that I'm already over halfway through a book a day after starting, and it gives me hope that maybe I can read more than just 3 books in the month of October. I started out this book and I was immediately gripped, immediately hooked, and I think that this was absolutely the best book to pick in this situation because it's on my physical TBR, it's on my October TBR, but it's also really engaging and it's really exciting and I'm already feeling the 4+ star vibes from this book. I don't know about 5-star yet, but I'm definitely feeling a 4+ because it's just so engaging. So here's the plot. We follow our main character whose name is Lilith, and usually I would hate that name to be honest, but I like the name with this character for some reason. She is the daughter of a ruling family in this like world. So it's an urban fantasy. So they have, you know, cars and and phones and businesses and stuff like that. It's not like a dragons and monsters kind of fantasy, but at the same time too, there is magic and there are like demons and stuff in here. And her family is, I forget like which one they are, but there's like 7 or 8 different houses, and her family rules, I want to say like one of the top ones. I don't remember which one, honestly. That's what happens when you audiobook. Sometimes you forget some of the little minute details. But anyway, she has actually left her home. She is living in a different section of the world or the city than her family lives in because her parents are very, very religious. They're very, very strict. They want to keep up appearances and retain their power. And that usually means being very misogynistic and unfair, specifically to women. So in this world, only women get magic, not the men, but the men still control them because using the laws written by the church or the religious power in this world, women are only allowed to use their magic when it's directed by a man, specifically either their spouse or their parent or something like that. So very, very vile, honestly. And I think that it's interesting the way that religion is written into this. Personally, in case you didn't know, I am a Christian, so I am religious. And I think in my head, I can separate the two because I think there is a lot of bad things that have been done under the name of religion that cannot be excused because it doesn't actually match up, at least for me, with what I believe in. So I think that I can still like, be a religious person and believe in that 100%. That's like my life decision, but also like read a book like this and recognize that when Scarlett St. Clair is talking about things like religious manipulation and doing things like that are very misogynistic and very sexist against people in the name of following like the rules of the church, this is something that not only is really sad and messed up in this world, but it's also something that's happened in the real world too, and it does annoy me nonetheless. So all that being said, that got like really deep for a second there. I didn't mean to go down that hole, but there is a lot of religion in this book, and I think it's interesting the way that it's talked about and kind of brought into the society. But anyway, so Lilith doesn't live with her parents. She lives in an apartment south in like one of the lower regions of the city, and she has this friend whose name I cannot pronounce properly. It's Zaraiv, I'm pretty sure, and he is like 5 years older than her, and he is also really powerful. He rules his own district in the city, and so she really wants to be a dancer at his club, and he always says no. So she's kind of gotten like odd jobs, like stealing and using her magic illegally to steal from people, but she's not making rent and she's kind of struggling. And so she asks him again, like, hey, can I please like work at your club? I want to get a real job. I want to get real money. And that's kind of how the book like starts. At the very beginning, it's interesting because usually with a fantasy book, we get an inciting incident like right away. Like first couple chapters, we are already in the story. We're like figuring out a mystery or following a journey, something like that. With this book, it's not really that. It's more like character centered. I feel like we follow our main character Lilith, who I immediately love from page 1 because I love her attitude, love her spunk, I love her sass, and I love how she is not going to just like conform to the laws that are very much written against her and against women. But that being said, like, there is no like main plot, main incident that we're really following until a couple chapters in. Now I am obviously over halfway through this book, so I will say that there have been quite a few like big things that have happened in this book so far. And there's actually a mystery that they're trying to solve, her and Zaraiv, and it's very interesting. I think I already know a lot of what's going to happen. I did already guess a couple plot twists, and I think it's not too hard to guess a couple more going into the rest of this book. But this also is the start of a series, so I'm thinking that it's just gonna like give us the tip of the iceberg in this book, and then when the rest of them are eventually released, you'll see more into the plot and the magic system and stuff like that in the rest of this book's series, at least. I don't know if that really explained very much of the plot like at all, but again, it wasn't like much happening at the very, very beginning. You just gotta like start the book and really get into it and feel the vibes, the urban fantasy, the really cool characters. And I also want to say too, like I said, Zaraiv is her friend, and we started this book, it's not an enemies to lovers relationship, it's not a strangers, training montage, something like that we see in all sorts of fantasies. This to me is very different, but it's honestly so simple. It's just a friends to lovers. Like, we see that all the time in contemporary romance, but I feel like we never see that in romantasy, or if we do, it's a love triangle and then she always picks the other person, if that makes sense. Like, we never see someone actually fall in love with the friend that they knew before the book started, and it's so simple, but like I really like that in this book. Like, Zaraiv, again, is older than her, he's very protective over her, and she is very defiant. She is always told that she gets whatever she wants, not because of her name, like because of her last name, but honestly she gets whatever she wants around Zaraiv because like he is head over heels for her, and because they are like best friends, but also definitely bantering, and also they argue a lot, but you can tell that there is definitely some underlying tension there, and it's just delicious. I'm like eating it up. And also because they are already friends, they already have a bit of a connection with each other. Like if something happens, like she goes to him and he goes to her, things like that. So we have so much like scenes with them together because they're just so intertwined. But again, it's not romantic yet. It's just like friendly at the beginning, at least mostly friendly. So yeah, I love it. I think it's such a simple take, but it's different from what we always get in every other fantasy book. And I really like that. And I want to see more friends to lover fantasy books. Please, authors, can I see some more? Please, I would eat them up. So yeah, with that being said, absolutely loving this. Absolutely recommend. Again, I'm not done, only like halfway through, but the audiobook is so easy to listen to, such an easy plot, and I'm so excited because this means that I can read a couple more books in the month of October, which is great. We have about 3 days left, so maybe I can read one more after this. Or maybe I can read like the rest of The Poisoner on audiobook once that officially refreshes. Today is October 27th, so I think my audiobook minutes refresh tomorrow, so maybe then I can finish this and then pick up the rest of The Poisoner, potentially, maybe. That'd be another book off my October TBR. Usually I'm not very strict about following my TBRs. They're just like to be considered, you know, like suggestions for the month, and it's also always fun to pick them using my TBR prompts. I don't like stick to them meticulously or like, you know, get mad at myself when I don't actually read all of them, but I feel like I picked a really good TBR for the month of October, and I've been reading a couple books off of there. I mean, to be fair, 2 of them were not good. I didn't like them. I'm rambling. Anyway, this is fantastic. I'm absolutely loving this, having the absolute best time, and I'll check in with you guys when I hopefully finish this book. My roommates aren't home and the lighting is better out here than it is in my room, so we're gonna film in the kitchen today, but I actually have quite a few book updates to talk to you about. Haven't spoken to you in a couple days, but I've actually done a lot of reading, which is crazy. We finished 2 books in like 4 days. So let's talk about book updates, shall we? I'm gonna start with the one that I was talking to you guys about first in this vlog, and that is Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair. I think I was talking to you guys at the 50% mark on like Monday, not Tuesday, Monday, because I finished it on Tuesday. Well, it's currently Friday, and I, again, finished this book a couple days ago, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was really, really good. I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest, that I don't think I already told you. The plot is not too complicated, to be honest. The characters just develop their romance from the friends to lovers that we saw at the beginning, and I thought it was just done really well. I thought it was interesting, it was pretty fast paced, and I thought that the main character specifically, although she did get herself like into some really dumb situations, and I was just like, girl, come on now, you really shouldn't have done that, you know? But at the same time, like, she was really fun to read about, she was really enjoyable, and I had a good time with it, and I was gonna give it 4 stars. I will just say in general, like, the majority of this book, I was actually giving it close to like a 4.5 star rating, and I ended up bringing it down 0.5 star because the very end of this book, it just felt a little bit confusing to me and a little bit rushed. And the romance specifically, I was really enjoying it, but I think that they it got to the point where, okay, they got together once, and then the rest of the romance is just like, are we gonna do anything else with this, or is this just it? You know, like for the last like 80-ish pages. I assume that in book 2 we're gonna have a lot more things happening, especially with the plot and character development. There was a plot twist at the very, very end, like the last page or 2 of this book that I really thought was really cool, so I'm excited to see how that develops. But yeah, overall, nothing too crazy, you know, but still a really fun time. It was some fun urban fantasy romance, and I think that everyone, not everybody, but I think that a lot of people would really enjoy this. I haven't really read many urban fantasy books, I gotta say. You know what, actually, I wanna say that if you like the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare, you may enjoy this. I feel like the other urban fantasy series that I'm thinking of is Crescent City, and I think that those are very different sides of the urban fantasy conversation, but I think this is kind of similar to The Mortal Instruments in that the characters are fun to read about, the plot is not too complicated, but it's enjoyable, easy to consume, you know, quick little read, and yeah, that's about it. It was just a good time, and I gotta leave it at that. So, I don't want to ramble on too much. That was this book, and I think this was book 73 in my Goodreads goal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, okay, this was definitely book 73. So, 2 more after this if we complete our goal. And even better news, I finished a second book this week. So this is actually book 74, and that is The Poisoner by Ivy Ophelia. This book, did I tell you guys in this vlog or my Alchemized vlog? I can't remember, but I started reading this book a couple of weeks ago, like when I was reading Alchemized, because I was reading Alchemized physically, so I was listening to the audiobook of this, then I read out audiobook minutes. I think I told you this. Anyway, but audiobook minutes refreshed a couple days ago, so I listened and half listened, half read physically the rest of this book, and it was also a really good time. I also gave this book 4 stars? 3.5 stars. Actually, I may have given it 3.5 stars. And it was because the very, very ending of this book disappointed me. Let me double check on that though. Yeah, 3.5, okay. Well, up until the very last bit of this book, I was gonna give it 4 stars. But then like the very last couple of chapters, I actually like, now I'm thinking about it, I finished it last night, I'm trying to remember, but now that I'm thinking about it, the ending really did piss me off. But everything else was really good. So for context, I don't think I really explained this to you guys yet in this video. The Poisoner is about our main character, Alina, who is a botanist in Victorian England, but that's just kind of like her public persona. Secretly, she is also what's called the poisoner. So she makes poisons and experiments with them, and she sells them to people who want to use poisons for various reasons. Usually it's like to kill off a husband or something like that, right? Well, she comes into contact with this guy named Silas, and Silas he sees her at a party, and he's like sitting with a woman on his lap, which is very much a no-no in Victorian England, right? And he's very creepy and eerie and takes a liking to her. And then she starts noticing that there's a stalker stalking her. And yes, it is Silas. And then she, because she has no fear, she's a poisoner, she knows how to use a dagger, starts stalking him back. And then he starts leaving dead bodies on her front porch. And then she starts poisoning him and things like that, right? Well, it turns out Silas is not mortal. He is a supernatural character. And I won't get too into spoilers. I don't think it says on the back exactly what he is, but I will just say that it's a very perfect kind of book to read around the end of October, which today is Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way. And yeah, it was spooky. It was funny. Their banter was hilarious. And then we got like to the romance part of it. And I honestly, maybe unpopular opinion, because I think this is definitely going to be a hit or miss type of book for people. Either you really love stuff like this or you really, really hate it. Personally, for me, The Spice was so fun. Like, it was so fun. I was like, oh, okay. And there's like one specific aspect of it that I, again, won't spoil, but it was similar to an element in Bride by Helen Hazelwood. If you know, you know. There is a certain scene in that that's very controversial. This scene has something kind of similar to it, but not exactly the same thing. But I enjoy both those scenes, so it doesn't bother me, apparently. Definitely triggers going into this, of course. It is dark romance. It is pretty graphic, both sexually and with violence and stuff like that, and with gore. So, you know, think about that before you go into it. Usually that stuff doesn't bother me, but all these complimentary things about this book, overall, I was gonna give it 4 stars. I thought it was a really fun time until the ending. And the ending of this actually pissed me off a lot. This ending of this book was a little confusing and not my favorite, but I still enjoyed the book overall. This ending was enough to bring it down to a 3.5 star from a 4 star because I was just really pissed about it. So basically, I'm not gonna spoil exactly what happens, but I will just say that number 1, it took a really weird turn. Okay, there was a plot twist that was revealed that I think we all guessed by like page 40. Like, I think we all knew that except for you, the author. Then we get an actual twist that I wasn't expecting that I really, really liked. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I appreciate that, right? Anyway, we get to this one point where something happens and I'm just like, why? And then our MMC Silas doesn't do anything about it. Like, I'll just say like something happens to our FMC. In most cases, when you read a book like this, the MMC is gonna come and, you know, help out, come to the rescue, just like they would if the situations were reversed, right? If he was trapped or something, she would come help him. In this case, Silas is like not doing anything about it. And I'm like, buddy, you have the power to do something about it. You have, like, apparently he wants to, and then he just does it. And then there's a scene at the very end of this book that I think was so unnecessary, where she gets taken advantage of. I'll just say that. It's not really sexually, but it is verging on that, and it's also in other ways she gets taken advantage of, and it's very much like she's not consenting to what's happening, and she's like, it's an issue, it's a problem. And not only was it a problem that never got resolved by the end of this book, but it's also a problem that Silas wasn't encouraging, but definitely wasn't stopping. And I was like, yeah, you're number 1 on my hit list now. Like, actually. Like, by the end of this book, I hate the main character, the male main character specifically, because I'm like, you were in a position to fix this and to stop this and to prevent this from happening for someone that you apparently really care about, and you're not doing anything about it. All that to say, like, I was really furious with the way that the ending of this book kind of wrapped up. And actually, the more that I talk about it, the more that I'm realizing that last night I was really kind of pissed. I kind of forgot about it, but now that I'm like reliving it, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that actually really ticked me off. So the end of this book was such a disappointment that I gave it 3.5 stars, but everything else was like 4, pushing 4.5, which is why I was so annoyed when it dropped down at the very end, because I was like, girl, this was a fun time. Why'd you have to ruin it with the last 50 pages? So this is actually a series, apparently. It doesn't really look like it, but there is actually a second book coming out. I think it's coming out next spring. I know that this is the indie version of the cover. I'm really hoping that they come out with the second book in an indie version as well, because the traditional version that was republished for this one, the cover is ugly. It's ugly. And is this the best cover ever? No, but it's much better, you know? So I really hope that they come out with a matching to this cover for book 2. But whatever it is, I still probably will read it, to be honest, because I'm curious what happens. And I want Alina, like, she's my favorite character in the book, obviously. I want her to like succeed and I want her to be okay. But Silas is #1 op at the minute. Like, I actually really despise him at the end of this book. So that ruined my experience with this one, unfortunately. But still 3.5 stars. I still recommend it, but I would just like be cautious of the last 50 pages because it did tick me off quite a bit. So this is book 74 in the challenge, which means we only have one more book left, before we can complete our 2025 reading goal, which is so exciting. Happy Halloween, by the way. If you're dressing up, let me know in the comments below. You're watching this in like mid-November, so actually it's gonna be like way past Halloween, but I'm still curious. Let me know. Video and I can't tell if I like this angle or not, so we're just gonna test it by filming a vlog update. That's fine, right? It's been one of those days. The last time I spoke in this vlog, I think I was talking about, I just finished Terror at the Gate. That was like 5 days ago. It's been a second since I've caught up on this vlog, which is fine. Still haven't finished a book yet, but I am actually like 2/3 to like 70% of the way through a completely different book. It's on my November TBR, so check that box off. I got the audiobook free from my library. Check that box off as well. And I gotta talk about it because I'm almost done and I haven't even given you an update yet. Let me tell you, the book I'm reading right now is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I'm so excited. I didn't think that this was gonna hook me as much as it has, but I'm telling you right now, unless things go devastatingly wrong in the last like third that I have left in this book, like this much, it's gonna be a 5 star. It's gonna be a 5 star. And how perfect is that I could get a 5 star with the book that ends my Goodreads goal. Anyway, yeah, so this book by R.F. Kuang I bought in France, and I've been wanting to read this book for forever. I've heard only the best things about it, but it is epic fantasy, not romantic fantasy. And I've also heard that R.F. Kuang in general is kind of a more controversial author, but for me, this is 110% working. I know she also has like very different, she has Babel out, she has Catabasis, which is very controversial. Yellow Face was also very controversial. So like she's kind of writing books that are inciting conversation, but this was her debut fantasy in 2018, and so far it's so good. So we follow our main character, Rin. Rin is an orphan when we first start this book, and she lives in this city in what is basically China, but obviously it's a fantasy world, right? So their actual country is named, I think it starts with an N. It's the Nakara Empire, that's what it's called. And she grew up in this small town in the very south. It's a farming city, agriculture city. She is an orphan from a family that does not treat her very well. She's always working for the family business, doing inventory and stuff for their family store, but underground it's like an opium business because it's also to do with the opium wars. And she is wanting to get out of her situation because her family, at the time, I think she's like 14, she is being engaged to marry this old fart who is like on his 3rd marriage and needs another wife, and she's only gonna be there to make children, right? So she's like, hell nah, get me out of here. So she decides to take this test, and this test is very, very hard, and she's obviously not educated, but she has 2 years before she has to take it. And she takes the test, and if she does well, she can get into these academies around the country to like learn how to be in, I think it's part military, part politician kind of thing, but she can't afford to get tuition, right? So she decides that she has to be the best, because the best person, I think, in every different region goes to this really, like, the best academy in the entire country, the Senegard Academy. And if she goes, she gets free admission and she can escape her life and become a warrior, a politician. Like, everything's gonna change for her, right? Her life is gonna completely turn around. And of course, she gets the books, she memorizes, she studies her butt off, and she does the damn thing, right? And she gets to Senegard. That's like the first 10 pages of the book. I'm not spoiling anything for you. I'm just saying that, like, things just keep going from there. And one thing about this book, I thought it was just going to be, number one, all about war. I didn't know there was like an academy involved. But honestly, personally, the academy trope, not my favorite thing ever. I'd enjoy it. I have a good time with it. It's not my top trope at all. And neither is like battle scenes and stuff. So like, this book in theory is not my cup of tea, but it's because of the way that R.F. Kuang is writing it that it's just everything. It's like, it's so well crafted. Every single scene is the perfect length. She gets you all the information you need to know. There's a very complicated political system in here, lots of magic going on, lots of conflict with the war and things like that. There's so much going on in this, but you understand it easily. It's very easy to consume. You get it, you're in it. You have to think a little bit, you know, you can't doze off, but like, they're giving you the information that you need, and yet no scene drags on too long. No dialogue is too lengthy. I find myself catching myself because I'll get to a point where I think that they're setting up a certain plot point that in any other book an author would spend 30 to 50 pages explaining, and R.F. Kuang will get you there in 3 to 4 pages and then go to the next thing. Like, there's a point in this book where she's going through like 2 to 3 years of Rin's life in a matter of a chapter or two. And I was like, she's efficient. She gets me what I need to know, and she doesn't waste my time. And that's why this book is so engaging, because you're always moving forward. You're never stuck. You're never slowed down. You don't feel like, oh yeah, I just need to get these next 50 pages to get to something interesting. It's always interesting the entire way through. Something interesting is always happening, and it's so good. And I love our main character. She's so likable because she is an underdog, right? That brought herself up from her bootstraps, but she also has a bit of a temper, and she stands up for herself, and she is not going to let the fact that she's a woman, that she's poor, that she looks different than everyone else, that she's constantly ridiculed, that is not going to ruin her experience. She's going to do what she wants. She's going to achieve her goals, and it's going to happen the way that she wants it to. And I love following her. I think she's so good. I also like some of the side characters, to be honest, specifically this one character, but I won't spoil like who it is. Again, there's no romance. It's really just character growth and a political system that is so intriguing and very, very similar to actual history. R.F. Kuang is, I'm pretty sure she's Chinese American, but she has Chinese history. She has like a doctorate, very well educated. I should do my research and like actually look that up. But I know that she definitely has a degree in Chinese history. And so writing this book obviously is perfect for her because she makes so many parallels to what I assume are true stories. I've heard a little bit about the Opium Wars. I won't lie. The American school system has not told me enough about it to be very confident in my knowledge. I would love to learn more, but reading a book like this is like a way to kind of dip your toe into history because it's very similar to history. They purposefully write it, like R.F. Kuang purposefully wrote it to mimic the colonization and the opium wars and things like that of China and the struggles that the country has gone through in the past, specifically during like different empires in the past. And again, I'd like to learn more. And this is like giving me a little bit of a hint while also using like fictional elements and fantasy things to also make the world even more astounding and, you know, intriguing. So honestly, win for win, has no flaws. I'm genuinely surprised that I'm so into this because I put it off for months because I was, number one, scared that I was gonna like cry my eyes out because I've heard it's really sad. Nothing too sad has happened yet. Knock on wood, I haven't cried yet, but maybe it'll happen before the end of this book. But yeah, everything has me gripped at the end of my seat and I want to be reading like 24/7. Unfortunately, I've been like very busy as per usual, so I haven't been able to do that, but I have been audiobooking this, and over the past like 4-ish days, I've gotten to page 378 out of like 520. So I'm almost done, and I will update you guys, I suppose, when I finish. But if this is not a 5-star, I will be genuinely shocked. I'm in my car right now. I'm about to walk into class. It's gonna be overexposed, but I have about 30 pages left. Something just happened, and this is gonna sound so stupid. I didn't believe it was real until I Googled it. Because this trope happens all the time, but it's like a fake out. You know what I'm saying? It's real this time. And I have to go to class like this. I'm not well. You don't understand. I'm actually gonna vomit. I don't have time to process this. I need to go to class. But at the same time, like, oh my God. finished The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang a couple of days ago, and I honestly have been dreading coming on here and talking about this book because I simply don't think that in a couple of minutes I can summarize my entire thoughts on the masterpiece that R.F. Kuang wrote in these 500 pages. I bought this book intending for it to be a good one. I had such high hopes. I knew that everyone loves this book, but I didn't think that it would be an all-time favorite for me, and yet this honestly is going to be top 3 books of the entire year, excluding books that I've reread. Of course, I reread a lot this year. But out of the 5-star books that I've read this year only, this book is not only also a 5-star, 100%, it is also probably going to make the top 3. I'm not even kidding. It was so incredibly written. I'm actually in shock at how wonderful and yet devastating this book was. I don't even know what I can say that wouldn't spoil this book, to be honest, because the plot twists were incredible and the story itself was just so incredible. But I will just say that from my own personal experience, this book was so intimidating to me. So I feel that for a lot of you who read like me, it probably will be intimidating for you too. The thing is, now I like a good fantasy. I just read a lot more romantasy, and I feel like a lot of fantasy these days does have romance in it as well. So, it's kind of hard to find a classic only fantasy, epic fantasy masterpiece like this and have it connect and feel like it's easy to read and easy to consume, and it's still incredible at the same level as some books that are in the romantasy category are, if that makes sense. It's hard for me to step out of my comfort zone, So I assume that a lot of you guys probably feel that same way. So let me be a word of encouragement for you, because genuinely, is this out of my comfort zone? Yes. There is no romance, even a subplot, to be honest. There's really nothing going on there. The main character is sometimes unlikable, to be honest, which is kind of interesting. Don't get me wrong, I love her. I literally think she's incredible, so powerful, and I support her, but at the same time there are things that she's done that I don't support, and I think that that's the point, is to have a complex character like that. Yeah, so the character development in this is so good, specifically with Rin, but also with a lot of side characters that I also really, really love. The plot itself, it's always moving. It never slowed. Again, as someone who was intimidated to go into this book, not only is the writing style easy to consume, it's kind of witty in some ways, it's very melancholy and deep in other ways, but it's not overly heavy, it's not overly flowery, it's not complicated, it's telling you what's happening. It's just the story that's more hard to swallow than the writing itself, if that makes sense. So yeah, don't be scared to pick this up. I mean it, truly, this is life-changing material. I feel like I've learned so much more about history, specifically because this book is based on true stories and true history between the Chinese and Japanese wars, but also this is gonna sound so dramatic, I feel like my life has been changed post reading this book, because I've been introduced now to a new genre of a subgenre of fantasy that I've kind of been avoiding, but now I'm maybe I should pick up Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson again. You know what I mean? Because that's epic fantasy as well. I started it last year and Sophie and DNF'd it. I intend to come back to it eventually. And now I'm maybe now's the time, because this hit me so much more than the romantasy has hit me recently. And maybe that's also because it's something new, something refreshing. It's out of my comfort zone, because it's also something that I just don't see very often. I don't pick up very often, but maybe that is a sign for me to intentionally pick this up more often. I feel like I'm speaking in circles. It's hard, because I want to tell you exactly what happens. I want to talk about the ending so bad. The ending, actually, you saw my reaction in the car, right? I shed a tear, and then I had to go to class. I had to pull it together and go to class, and I came back home, finished the book, and I was actually in shock. I didn't think that they were going to make that twist, and they did. And I was like, okay, so she's not pulling punches. Okay, so we actually are gonna suffer some serious sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? I know you can't see it. I do have chills under my sweater right now. Yeah. But at the same time, although it is devastating, it's so impactful, and every choice is not made just to traumatize you. It's made for a reason to, again, tell the story, the real historical stories, but also to make a point and pull you into the story and make you connect with them so deeply. But it's not overly done, in my opinion. It's graphic in some ways, it's violent in some ways, especially depictions of death and violence, I think, was really graphic in some ways. So watch your trigger warnings for sure, definitely. But at the same time, part of me feels like it was necessary to tell this story. Does that make sense? If we didn't have those really horrid depictions about how people who are honestly committing genocide are treating people who are not like them and deserve then to die, it's so messed up. It is. But the descriptions in this book are made to make you purposefully feel uncomfortable, because she wants you to recognize that it's not okay. Hello? I'm not making any sense. I'm not speaking anything coherently. It's just like, while I adore this book so much, I hate the way it made me feel, you know? But that's the point, is to feel so uncomfortable like that. Now, I do want to read books 2 and 3 like so soon, but I also like, I don't have them with me. Number one, I need to go buy them. And I also need to buy the UK covers because I think that these are so much prettier, like with the white, like the clean white with like the little bit of orange up here is better than like the entire like orange cover with like the black smoke. It looks too messy for me. I prefer this cover much better. But I need to go buy like the UK covers, probably secondhand, to be honest. So that's going to be my next book buying adventure, probably. I'm so scared. I'm so scared to go to the next books. I know it's going to be incredible, but it's just like, if that's what happened in book 1, I don't know if my heart can take it. I don't know. I want Rin to succeed so much. I want her to be prosperous, to right her wrongs, and to just succeed, you know? I want only the best for her, but I'm genuinely terrified that we're not going to see that happen by the end of this series. Because I think that R.F. Kuang is more intentional about making a point than she is about preserving like the well-being of her characters. So with that being said, that's the last book from today's vlog. I think I've been filming this for a couple weeks now, so I'm glad to finally be done with it. I can move on to filming videos for December, because let's just say I have some very exciting things planned for the next month. So that will be coming out very shortly. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog though. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video coming out very, very soon. I love you guys so much. Have the most amazing day ever. And if you want to watch my most recent book video, I will have it here on the screen. Oh my gosh, wait, 2 seconds. I'm so sorry. I forgot to say, I finished my Goodreads goal. 75 books before the middle of November. Let's see how many we can get to by the end of the year. I love you. I'll see you soon.